No, this is not clickbait. I know you saw the thumbnail and you're thinking that, but we're going to make legitimate cases on why you should get each of these 8 dudes off your fantasy roster at their current price point, and then maybe who you should replace them with or some kind of deals that you should be looking at when you're selling these guys. First, make sure you like the video. We're going to have content like this coming out all off season, so make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. Make sure you head over to our locals page. It's in the description, and that will get you to our member exclusive content, our Discord channel, our listener leagues. We got another one open to those, etc. So make sure you head over there to check that out. Not clickbait, I swear. Like, just at least hear us out, because I can already tell people are watching this video and there's tears rolling down their face. They're so mad.
Subpar analysis.
We're going to get a comment on this video 1 minute after we release it. Like, you couldn't have watched the video unless you watched it on 150 times speed.
Yep.
So we'll start with T. Higgins. Wow.
Oh boy.
T. Higgins. So here let me play devil's advocate here. T. Higgins obviously is I think he's one of the better receivers in the NFL, and I know you think that too.
I love T.
Higgins as an NFL receiver. Love him, love him, love him, love him. He's one of the better NFL receivers. He's tied to one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Tied to him. They're not going to trade him, so he's got security there. He's going to have a prominent role in that offense always. So there's obviously a lot to like about T. Higgins. I will let you, Mr. Bright Idea, let's put T. Higgins on this list. I'll let you make the argument in the case, which I know you have a good one, as to why T. Higgins actually should be somebody that you're looking to move off of. And I'll preface with this before I let you go. Who should you be moving off of T. Higgins for? I'll give you 4 names that you should down tier to. Maybe not down tier to Garrett Wilson, but Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Chris Olave, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. 4 guys that you should be targeting on your Dynasty teams this offseason would be perfect pivots here for various reasons, but just that's where we're going to go with this. Go ahead.
T. Higgins is one of my favorite NFL wide receivers. Okay.
Yeah.
We've already established that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did our part. Yep.
Okay. So this past season, let's just lay the groundwork here. 111 targets, 75 receptions, 1,042 receiving yards, 7 receiving touchdowns, fantasy points per game, which were a little bit skewed. He was 26th with 13.1 points per game. He started a couple games, was listed as healthy, didn't play a few of them. He did struggle with injury. T. Higgins is the wide receiver 2 in his offense behind Jamar Chase. There are going to be weeks where T. Higgins scores about 20, no more than 25 points in a game.
Yeah, there will be.
There will be some. The times he's actually done that are not very many. So let's look at the weeks that he did this past year. So week 4 against Miami, he had 25 points off of 9 targets, 7 receptions, and 1 touchdown. I'm looking at the weeks where he scored over 15 points. Week 11 was the other time where he had 13 targets, 9 receptions, and 148 yards. Week 12, 24 points, 9 receptions, 7 targets, and a touchdown. He did it one more time at New England. That's 4 times. 9 targets, 8 receptions, 1 touchdown. Oh, and one more time, 16 points. 8 targets, 5 receptions, 1 touchdown. So 5 times this season where he scored more than 15 points, okay? Where 4 of those 5 times he required a touchdown to do it. Jamar Chase is a touchdown machine there.
Absolutely.
He is a touchdown machine. And when you expected T. Higgins to become that alpha wide receiver once Jamar Chase got injured, it didn't really happen. Yes, he was struggling with injury, but it just didn't. Why? Why did that not happen? Because T. Higgins is not that type of receiver. He is a very, very, very good wide receiver too for his team.
Very good wide receiver too in Dynasty.
This is why T. Higgins should not be ranked as a top 12 Dynasty wide receiver. His ceiling is not good enough. It just isn't. When he scores more than 15 points in a game, which is what you're expecting consistently from a wide receiver 1 in Dynasty, it's only happening because he's scoring touchdowns. He gets he gets some good targets.
He does.
But again, it's inconsistent. If you look at Sleeper, they have, red versus yellow versus green, which is good, mediocre, bad. It's all over the place. It's yellow, it's red, it's green. It's like who knows what. It's all based off of game plan. T. Higgins is just going a little bit too high.
Yes.
That's our problem. In with the guys that have higher ceilings than him that are going around where he is at the wide receiver position, we just prefer those other wide receivers.
It's not about T. Higgins. It's the fact that he's going at the end of the second, early third in Superflex leagues. And you have guys Drake London going around after him. I mean, Drake London, who is going to be the wide receiver 1 on his team, yes, with Kyle Pitts there. So looking at T. Higgins, and we said this, if T. Higgins were to get traded to a team where he would be the wide receiver 1, I'd rank him in the top 4 wide receivers in Dynasty right away. I just would. I believe in him that much. But there's something funny as you were mentioning those statistics to me that you kept saying, wide receiver 2 on his team, wide receiver 2 on his team. And I guess the phrase wide receiver 2 had me thinking of Scary Terry. And so I was looking at what his production was these last 2 seasons in terms of total points scored, and he's hovering around the 220 points range. And then I went to Terry McLaurin's profile, and guess what number he hovers around?
The same.
The same number, 220. Yeah, well, he didn't play all 17 games either this season or last season. He played 14 last season.
Correct.
And he played in 17 this year. He missed, I think, 2 or 3. And he was
3. So he really did pretty much. He had a little slight uptick in production in total points scored.
Terry also got to 220 points in 14 games too.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
And in terms of fantasy production, look, there's nothing wrong with Terry as a true fantasy asset. There's nothing wrong with T. Higgins as a true fantasy asset. It's all about their market value and where they're being drafted in startup drafts and their value and what that says about their ceiling. What is your expected ceiling for this guy when you're taking him there? And is he going to put you over the top and win you a championship?
And I'm not comparing the two at all. Because Terry McLaurin, the difference is Terry McLaurin was the wide receiver 1 on his team, even without a bad quarterback, and was putting up these numbers. T. Higgins is the wide receiver 2 on his team and is putting up these numbers. That's why if T. Higgins were to get traded, he would be astronomically good. However, at the current moment, you see T. Higgins, and it looks like he's going to be in Cincinnati for good. And I think this is the level, not to mention he's missing on average about 3. The durability is at least something you have to mention because he's come in every year and missed some games. He does always seem to kind of be on the practice injury report. So that, the best ability is availability.
Concerning.
Yeah,
that is concerning.
And it's not something I'm going to short him over. But again, it's where he's going and the guys he's going around. He's going as like the 7th or 8th wide receiver off the board in every single draft. And I'm just not wanting to build my dynasty team when I'm looking at upside, when I'm looking at potential production. I'm not wanting to build my team around a wide receiver 2 on a team. I'm just not. And I know Tyreek and Waddle are both going in that range. The difference is they're both scoring more points than T. Higgins. They both are.
And Waddle did take a hit this past year. He did.
And he still did. So, look, not click. I swear. Hopefully that makes sense. Like I think right now a smart thing to do in Dynasty is to pivot off of T. Higgins into one of those 4 guys that I mentioned. The younger, they're going to be the alpha on their team. In terms of Garrett Wilson, probably going to get Aaron Rodgers, Chris Olave, Derek Carr, JSN, wherever he lands, obviously. And then the Falcons are going to be in the market for a new quarterback as well. Could be Lamar Jackson potentially in Atlanta. So
yeah.
I think the smart thing to do in Dynasty is to pivot off of T. Higgins and either pay just a little bit more, go get Garrett Wilson because Garrett Wilson is going to be a better receiver. He as good as T. Higgins is, Garrett Wilson is ridiculous. Or down tier and get a pick on top of one of those guys for T. Higgins. And you're going to eventually be looking, it could be a short-term thing where you're looking at as much production plus a pick. It's awesome.
Yeah. But we're going to have a similar argument here with the next guy.
It's
similar.
Are we doing him now? Are we doing him next?
Let's do him now. Let's put him together, man.
All right. We sat on the top of the mountain and told you to buy Devonta Smith last year. We screamed it. You're welcome. Actually, you're welcome.
So welcome.
Because we told you, and then he went off, and now Devonta Smith was my most rostered player in my roast mustard, and as much as I benefited from that this season, from a point standpoint, Devonta Smith is being sold and being drafted at wide receiver 1 prices, and the reality of it is, Devonta Smith is probably not a top 12 wide receiver in Dynasty. And he had a really good year, and we knew what he's capable of. We knew the side. We were the Devonta Smith truthers. We were the king of that club. But now I find myself shipping out Devonta Smith because I know that, number one, I don't think his price is ever going to get higher than it is now. I just don't see it. As long as A.J. Brown is there, as long as he's in that offense, I don't see it. Obviously last year from a production standpoint, you're really thrilled with what you see. What are the odds that he reproduces that? Decent, I think, but Goddard was also hurt for a lot of last season, and Dallas Goedert is the guy that is going to command targets, and I think that is going to take away a little bit from Devonta Smith. So you have to consider that as well.
Yes, this is my biggest argument for why I think Devonta Smith is a sell. Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert is my biggest reason here. So I think we forget that Dallas Goedert was as elite as we expected him to be in terms of points per game production, and then he just got injured for a significant amount of time towards the end of the season, and that really screwed people like me in fantasy. But he got hurt after week 10. So let's look at Devonta Smith's production from weeks 1 to week 10. And see what it looked like while Dallas Goedert was on the field. 18 points, good, very good starting. 0 points week 1, my bad, 0 points. 15 points week 2, 30 points week 3, very good. Then he drops to 4 in week 4. Then he scores 18 points in week 5, 15 in week 6. There you go, that's 2 weeks of consistency. 7 in week 8, 4 in week 9. And 13 in week 10. Then Dallas Goedert gets hurt right here, okay? So let's look at 11 to 18. 13, 9, 21, 17, 17, 31, 20, 13.
See a little bit of a difference there after he got hurt.
There is a significant difference because Dallas Goedert has that much of an impact when he's on the field.
This could be a Dallas Goedert tweet if you want it to be. And we love Devonta Smith. I love Devonta Smith as a player. I love Devonta Smith, guys. One of my favorite NFL receivers. But in terms of his dynasty value, and he's not somebody that I think you have to just be sprinting to sell. That's not the case with T. Higgins. It's not the case with Devonta Smith. But if you can down tier to one of these younger guys that we've talked about, namely JSN, love that trade.
Yeah, and look, the funny difference between him and Higgins is, you can make an argument that Devonta Smith should be more valuable than T. Higgins. They should both be ranked lower than they are right now.
How in the world is T. Higgins that much more valuable?
How is T. Higgins that much more valuable than Devonta Smith?
Answer that question in the comments.
Who's been the actual wide receiver one before? Devonta Smith.
J.K. Dobbins. Let's move to the running back position.
Yes.
Oh, goodness.
We'll take our L.
We'll take our L.
We'll take our big dub on Devonta Smith, and we'll be really embarrassed about J.K.
That is the rise
Dobbins.
and fall of a fantasy content creator right there, is that we hit real big on Devonta Smith, and then I had J.K. Dobbins in the top 7 of my running back ranks last year.
We all did.
It was a really, really bad loss for us. So with J.K. Dobbins, there's a lot of people that still are riding that train as the train is approaching the cliff, where it ultimately just goes. And I jumped off. I'm jumping off the train. We're jumping off the train. We're going to stay up on top of that canyon because with J.K. Dobbins, I understand that we shouldn't have expected anything of him from last year just due to the nature of his injury. I understand that. I understand that he showed some flashes when he came back. However, I am concerned enough about their commitment to J.K. Dobbins after his last year of his rookie deal, right? They could in a deeper running back class, they could easily replace him, and then they could look. What do they have to gain by re-signing J.K. Dobbins when they can go into the draft, get somebody that's going to stay
someone
healthy?
that doesn't have a shredded knee? Of all the years from the draft for running back, 2 would be this year. Honestly, the more we're talking about it, I'm kind of convinced the Ravens are going to draft a running back.
And obviously there is a world where they roll with J.K. Dobbins as their starter.
Yeah.
However, J.K. Dobbins, he really has to stay healthy. He really is going to have. He doesn't have the same burst or speed that he did pre-injury. He doesn't look at videos before and after, and you will see it. I promise.
And even beyond that, I think we were right that he was going to come back and be a very good running back and produce well in an offense that runs the ball more than anyone else. Well, 1, Greg Roman left. That was a big hit to his value. And 2,
huge.
8 targets, 7 receptions in 8 games. We were really, really betting on J.K. Dobbins taking a step up in terms of receiving production. He didn't. And that just sucked. And we just have to take our L on that. His ceiling is automatically capped with that.
If you can get anything of substance for J.K. Dobbins in a dynasty league, please do it. Please do it. Tony Pollard, a guy that after I've done a couple mocks since the Zeke news broke, and after Zeke was released, Tony Pollard has been going in the 5th round of guys.
That is insane. 5th round, you were talking like cornerstone asset. A cornerstone asset on your dynasty team. Tony Pollard got franchise tagged.
You got Michael Pittman going in the 5th round and Tony Pollard going in the 5th round.
We have never seen Tony Pollard as a true running back 1 in his offense.
And we're not going to. That's the hilarious thing. We're not going to. Dallas is going to draft a running back. And it could be Bijan. It honestly could be. They know what Tony Pollard's good at, and they know his role. And Tony Pollard's role is going to be very similar to what it was with Zeke. And honestly, I don't see him outproducing what he produced last year. I don't see it.
No.
I don't see it.
I don't.
And what was his injury? I can't remember.
He broke his fibula, fractured his fibula.
So obviously coming off of that too that's another argument you could make for him not reproducing.
That doesn't really worry me much.
The production that he had last year. But honestly, for me, it's the fact that I think Dallas is definitely going to take another running back and use him similar to how they've used him in the past. I don't think you're going to see him as a bell cow running back.
A lot of the reason he's so good at what he does for their team is because of how they limit his snap share and what he does in that offense. And that's going to change now that Kellen Moore is gone. I think it'll be really interesting to see what happens. But, I mean, there's just that uncertainty, too. We don't know what their offense is going to look like next year. We have an idea because we know Mike McCarthy. But, again, Mike McCarthy's offense, last time I checked, never really was heavily dependent on the production of running backs. It could be if they get Bijan. It could be. And they could change some stuff there. But, yeah.
Rashad Penny, stand on the running back train, and then we'll go get some receivers.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say a lot here. I don't think we need to say a lot. Don't expect. This is the statement. Don't expect anything of Rashad Penny more than what you have expected of him in years past. And maybe that means that you were dumb enough to expect something from him last year when he got hurt, or the year before that when he got hurt, or the year before that when he got hurt. Hey, guess what he's going to do this year, guys?
He's going to get hurt. Guys, no, but Avery, this is Rashad Penny's year. This is his year.
Surely
this
none
is
of you
his
are going to get in the
opportunity.
comments and say that.
This is his year.
I mean, surely you're not going to do that.
There's no way you're doing this for a 5th straight year. No way.
All right, 3 straight receivers to cap us off here. DJ Moore. DJ Moore has Justin Fields throwing him the ball. Not to mention DJ Moore was always wait till he gets a quarterback. Wait till he gets a quarterback. Wait till he gets. No, it's just it's who he is. It's just who he is, and now he's on a team that is going to be worse in the passing game. Somehow, I don't even know how you get one of the only steps down that he could have taken was from Carolina to Chicago, in my opinion. I mean, I don't see him getting the volume like that he needs. I don't see Fields delivering to him like he needs.
No,
there's not a ton to like here, and people are going to get excited about DJ Moore. It's not DJ Moore the player. It's where DJ Moore is going in dynasty startup drafts because people are going to get excited about DJ Moore because
you should be excited about DJ Moore as Bears fans. You should be excited about him
from a player perspective, absolutely. Yeah. But from a dynasty perspective, you should have shipped him off last year when we told you to. Ship him off now. That you've got the buzz around going to a new team, all that jazz. Just do it. I don't think he's anybody that is going to be a world beater in Dynasty.
A Dynasty creator did the statistical work for us here on DJ Moore's production, but if Justin Fields improved his passing volume by 30% next year, okay, that is an otherworldly jump in production. If he increased it by 30%, DJ Moore does not crack wide receiver 2 numbers. That's how bad they were. They averaged 130 passing yards last year per game.
That's all you need to know, man. That's all you need to know.
Oh, and that's assuming DJ Moore gets, I think, 30% of the target share.
I'll let you talk about Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, so Brandon Ayuk is a guy who we're going into his 3rd year now. We've seen flashes from him in the past. Deebo Samuel in Brandon Ayuk's rookie season was injured, so we saw some flashes there. We saw his athleticism. We saw his ability. But again, he's just a guy that I don't really ever see being an alpha wide receiver. And guys, people are sleeping on Deebo Samuel. I was too high on Deebo going into last year. I think part of him failing was the result of Trey Lance getting hurt and Jimmy G getting hurt and then Brock Purdy getting hurt. Like what are you supposed to do with that as a receiver in that offense? Like how are you going to get consistency there? It's the same issue with guys like Michael Pittman and Terry. But with Deebo Samuel, he is still the alpha there. He is. And Brandon Ayuk it's not like the only reason Brandon Ayuk has a lot of hype is because he's in San Francisco's offense, because they have such an electric offense and they really build off of those weapons. I don't think Brandon Ayuk is going to get a big deal after his 4th year. No. Like, I don't think he lasts there very, very long. So I think going into this year, he has a too high expectations in terms of production, and I don't think he's going to meet them.
And a similar guy to that in terms of the sentiment that he might not get a big deal after this year is Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy going into his 4th year in the NFL, and obviously you're looking at his first 3 years, and last year was really the only thing he did of substance, and he was a wide receiver 2, all borderline a wide receiver 3. With Jerry Jeudy, I mean, how long are we going to draft him in the top 6 rounds of Dynasty startup drafts? And yes, that does still happen. How long are we going to do that until we realize that Jerry Jeudy just may not be the prospect that we thought he was? Because he is almost
really sad.
It is sad, but he's almost done with his rookie deal. So if you've got somebody that wants to pay like those types of prices for Jerry Jeudy, I think you're absolutely doing that at this point. And I think they're in that range. You have Chris Godwin, you have Michael Pittman, you have Treylon Burks. Even Jamison Williams, in my opinion, is a better bet to have that upside than Jerry Jeudy. So I would pivot off of Jeudy for Jamison Williams.
Yeah, and the big excitement with Jeudy right now is there's a lot of anticipation that the Broncos are going to deal him. And even though Sean Payton has gone out and said that's not going to happen, I still think the Dynasty community is expecting it a little bit, and that's almost predetermined his price and bumped it up a little bit. Like, nothing's happened, guys. Nothing's happened.
Yeah, no,
he could stay in Denver, and I think it's likely that he.
And you know what? You know who his most likely suitor is right now? Just guess. Like, what would make you laugh so hard? Like,
oh my gosh!
Just think about it.
New England.
Yep. No joke. That's the team he's been tied to.
Jerry Jeudy's he's a fine receiver, guys. But then on top of that, he has struggled with injury for 3 straight seasons.
Funny that you knew that. That's really funny to me. 8 guys you should pivot off of. 8 guys that at their value would rather pivot off of them to other guys. That's what this should be called, but we're going to call it sells just because.
Sells does not mean they're bad players.
They're not. I like a lot of qualities about these guys as NFL players, like especially guys like T. Higgins and Devonta Smith. Love them. But in Dynasty, I hope it makes sense why we're pivoting off them. I hope you don't think we're the biggest morons of all time, but you probably... If you already thought that, you probably still think it. I'll just say that. Yeah. But make sure you like the video. Wait, you got something?
I was say, if you think we're subpar, just let us know in the comments why.
Subpar. Your analysis is subpar at best. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We've got the best subpar analysis that you can ever find from Indianapolis, Indiana. So we appreciate that. We appreciate that you have subscribed to us and that you'd like the channel. It's the best and free and easy way to support our channel. So we appreciate that. As always, we appreciate you listening and watching. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you later.